There are certain things you need to do before winter arrives. And it's always important to look at plants that maybe you've had disease problems with or haven't done well for you. And one of those plants might be peonies. And if you look at the peony in front of me, you're going to notice a lot of browning of the leaves and a leaf spot, and maybe the buds didn't open quite right. Instead of having to use extra chemicals in the spring, one of the things that you can do is completely remove all the foliage, all the stems, and throw it away. This is not stuff you're going to want to use in a compost pile. You really want to get rid of it. So you can go out in the garden, and any of the areas where you have peonies, you can come in and completely remove the foliage. I always like to keep in mind, in some cases, that you can still feed the birds with seeds from your peonies. And you can also use the stems and seed pods that have opened for decorating. But just go to your plant. The more I've read about controlling diseases and problems in a garden, what you don't want to do is break up all the foliage as you're pruning it and scatter it to the ground, because some of the disease problems stay on the foliage, and in the moist spring months, that disease has the ability to infect more plants. So carefully come in with your hand shears, and what I recommend is you just prune back this plant. I like a hand shears is the best, and you completely remove all the foliage to the ground, but you don't mash it up and crunch it. For those of us who have a lot of peonies, you can take a hand shears and come right at the ground level and just shear it like this, and then you can take all this foliage, put it in large containers or a wheelbarrow, discard it, or put it somewhere away from all your other plants. And again, be sure not to use it in your compost. Now, if you're bored and you're looking for something to do in a garden, you can deadhead certain shrubs. And the crepe myrtle here can be deadheaded. And again, I like to wait till spring, but some people really don't like to look at these ugly brown pods. What you want to do is just tip off the old flowers. Do not come and shear deeply, especially in the colder climate areas. So you can just come right in like this and deadhead your crepe myrtle. Now, some people do it because the following year they say it helps in better flowering. Again, I personally like to wait till spring, but you can just just tip them back. That's the most you want to do. The rest you want to wait till later in the spring. Other plants that you can work with and cut back. For example, this rudbeckia here. Now, I feel it feeds the birds all winter long. You can see the hundreds of seeds that fall out into your hand. But, some people just don't like to look at this during the winter months. In this case, I like to use a head shears like this. And I'm going to come in here and just prune it just like this. It's quick. You can get all your frustrations out. And then you pull back all this foliage and remove it. And if it's something that doesn't have disease problems, you can go ahead and use that in your compost pile. As the season progresses, your hostas are going to look more and more like this. In fact, at some point, they might just pretty much melt right into the ground. But, since these are not as attractive as I'd like, I'm going to go ahead and shear them. Again, come in and you just prune right to the ground. And you just shear, just like that, and you can just gently pull away the foliage, and then you've prepared for winter, so you're not looking at dying foliage during the winter months. At the same time, before real cold weather sets in, there's something else that you can do to help save maybe money till next year or give you bigger plants, and that is certain plants can be overwintered. This is Lantana. I find that the golden or yellow forms are great. They're hardy. If you put them in your garage where it doesn't get any colder than 45 degrees, you put them in your basement, and you can just come in the garden and just dig them, just like so. And they're really easy to transplant. If you've got one or two, I usually recommend that you can put them in containers. And as you see, you'll get a nice root ball like this, and you can just peel off a little bit of the soil, and you can put them into a container, or if you might have 6, 10, 12, you can take black crates and just put them in plant next to plant. And all you have to do in between the plants, get a little bit of this nice loose soil, and like so, and just go ahead and put maybe 6 in a crate, or you can just put each one in a container like this. I prefer this. It's easy to handle them, and you can just take these and save them till next spring. And I wouldn't really prune them till maybe February or March. And then after threat of cold weather, you can plant them back outdoors. I'm Mark Viette. Join me next time in the garden.